Om Shri Sairam. My humble pranams at the lotus feet of our beloved Bhagwan. Today, we have an eminent speaker, Brother Sriram, hailing from the temple city of Madurai in Tamil Nadu and currently working at Chennai in the banking sector. Brother Sriram considers himself fortunate to have been a devotee of Swami right from his childhood. He has undergone Balvika's program for 9 years and joined Swami's Institute at Brindavan in 2006 for his BCom and continued his Masters in Economics and finally passed out of the MBA program in 2013 from Prashanti campus. In all, he spent 7 years at Sri Sathya Sai Institute of Higher Learning. Let us enjoy this session. Jai Sai Ram.
Yeah, we can start.
Thanks for the brief introduction. Om Shri Sairam. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. I offer my loving salutations at Bhagwan's lotus feet, respected elders and all my dear brothers and sisters of the Sai family. Loving pranams and sairams to all of you. When I was initially approached for this talk, uh, it was through one of my friends, and we used to generally chat only about cricket. So suddenly he called me and he said, would you be interested to talk about your experience in Bhagwan's university? Uh, and he mentioned that it would be primarily to Balvika students. The moment I heard that, immediately I was keen on it, because I never say no when the word Balvikas is mentioned, because I myself is a Balvika student. So I always considered it a privilege and a blessing to be, amidst the students and uh, discuss and share my thoughts and experiences with them. But a little did I know that some of the speakers that especially your Samiti were uh, blessed with were mind blowing, to say the least. And even in the introduction, they use the word eminent speaker. Uh, Thank you for those kind words, but I would like to state, uh, because Bhagwan is there with us, so it should be brought forth that I'm not very regular when it comes to public speaking and sharing experiences. I thought it is going to be a very, very informal session, but having agreed to it, then I realized that there are a lot of senior devotees and people with more phenomenal and striking experiences uh, there on the other side. Though I don't see them, uh, in a way, this conferencing is beneficial to me, so that I will not be kind of seeing everyone face to face, people with a lot of experiences. Uh, so I only humbly pray that the next 45 minutes or so is going to be narration of my life experiences, uh, spiritual experiences, our family's experiences with Bhagwan, uh, in a very, very simplistic way. Uh, Probably there could be many notions, especially from outsider's view, that Bhagwan is for the elite, because what outside world sees, uh, what they see is, people like Sachin Tendulkar walking in and having darshan, people like Hariharan, the music industry, walking in and having worship, all even eminent politicians, economists, and so many world leaders come in, and Swami gives them the interview, Pad Namaskar, and all that. So people generally feel, especially outsiders, they do get a feel that Bhagwan is for their life. Uh, Probably my narration here, my talk here could maybe express or put forth this point that it need not necessarily be. It is certainly not, because I'm someone who has come from probably a tier two city in the southernmost part of Tamil Nadu, which is Madurai. Uh, I did not know that I did not know that Bhagwan's University had the courses that they had. Though I was a devotee, so I was, to some extent, we were a little ignorant on the developments on the education and hospital side of Bhagwan, but we always knew Bhagwan as God, our God, dearest God. So this is the slight background that I would like to give before commencing. That it is the story of a simple, humble family and their experience with Bhagwan. How Bhagwan connects with each and every one of us, and how it is so different than what people perceive him to be. That is the attempt. Our journey started early in the 90s. Uh, we just moved into the temple town of Madurai, Tamil Nadu. Uh, and just adjacent,
Sairam,
yeah,
Sriram, we can just leave that mic, otherwise we have some noise, not noise. Uh, I think voice is not clear. You can just leave that mic. I think you
okay,
are holding the mic, right?
yeah.
So
Is it any better now?
yeah, it's okay. It's
Is it
working.
any better?
Yeah, better. Yeah.
Okay, okay. Yeah. So in the early 90s, my father moved into Madurai, and just adjacent to our home, there was a samiti that was there. It was more of a bhajan mandali, to say. That was the primitive stage of that samiti in a place called SS Colony. There were few senior devotees, and one of them, or rather one of our family friends, so to say, gave a picture of Swami to my father and introduced him as Satya Sai Baba, a saint in Andhra Pradesh. So that's how it all started. My father, being a very gullible person, even till today, if someone says that it is for your good, it is for your family's good, he will always go ahead and try anything and everything, as long as it is good and it is least harmful. So he will, even in our house altar, it's quite an extensive altar that he has. He has a lot of idols. He has a lot of pictures, not just of Bhagwan, but of myriad deities. In fact, at one point in time, I still remember, we even had Jesus, Allah, Sarvadharma picture as well in our altar. Uh, Due to newer houses and space constraints, we had to keep some of the pictures away on the roof of the house now. That's how it is. So he was a very devout person, God loving person. So we started going for the bhajans and the service activities and all that. So when I was 3.5 years old then, and my sister was about 9, 10 years of age then. So the way we used to uh, defer to Bhagwan is that he is part of our family. If someone had to question us, how many members, especially say me or my sister, if someone had to question how many members in the family, we used to tell five: my father, my mother, myself, my sister, and of course Bhagwan Sri Satya Sai Baba. We didn't know he was Bhagwan. Then we called him Sai Baba is our fifth member in the family. So it was straightforward. There was no challenge of testing the Lord by the devotee and all that. That didn't happen. We simply believed that he is a good person, he is a saint or noble person, and started going for the bhajans. They were teaching us a lot of good stories, moral stories, and all that. So we liked that, and we accepted him as part of our family. So that faith, what had happened was it slowly started translating into miracles happening in our house. In our house, for example, there of course used to be materialization on Bhagwan's pictures of vibhuti, kumkum, uh, even turmeric and sandalwood balls and all that. So that used to happen. Uh, and many people in and around that area, they came and visited us and to look at the wonder. Uh, Not that there were not many miracles in the Samiti. In fact, there was one open heart operation that was conducted to one of our erstwhile uh, convener, late convener who is no more. Uh, Through a dream, Bhagwan operated him for his ailment in a dream. Next day morning, he saw scars, on his chest. So that kind of miracles had happened, and when this vibhuti materializations and all that started in a very in a devotee who has just started to believe in the Lord, the Samiti people and other people started visiting us, and everyone's faith kind of also kind of rekindled. More people came by. It is at that stage Swami conducted a marriage from our house. It would be uh, it would be very unjustified anything else for this, because he did for one of my cousin sisters, seeing all these miracles, they were trying to find a match, and it was getting delayed and all that, which every family goes through in an arranged marriage situation, because of looking at astrology, kundli match and all that. So there was one dilemma wherein there was a proposal of a groom who is 10 years elder to her. So this was a complicated situation for her, because everything else is fine, but the age gap is so wide. So she didn't know whether it is the right decision or not. When she came to our house, she mentioned this. Then my mother and father suggested to her that, see, these miracles are happening in our house. Swami is very much here. We believe, excuse me, sorry. We believe that he is hearing us. So why don't you submit your prayers here in our altar, and then leave and come back to find whether what is he to say, what has he got to say on this. So then there was this another suggestion that came up, where my mother said, probably you can make a sweet payasam and keep it in an altar. Lock the cupboard, take the key with you, pray sincerely, and leave. Come back the next day and open it for yourself, because those times Swami was also partaking food. As I mentioned, we used to think that Swami is part of our family. So all 3 times a day, uh, we used to offer food, coffee, everything, and Swami used to partake all that. So luckily for us, we did not have to go through testing of Bhagwan, whether he is God or not. Secondly, we did not need to see the Lord physically to experience essence. Right away, we started experiencing Him, an omnipresent, omnipotent entity. So when these things happen, so she was also witness to some of the miracles. So she believed this could, give her a solution, and she prepared a payasam by herself, kept that in the altar, locked the altar, and took the keys with her. The next day, when she returned, she found the glass half empty. She immediately said, okay, and she got married. That's why I said, Swami conducted a marriage in her house. This was the beginning. The beginning itself was so memorable that even after these many years, I remember them very vividly, though I was only 4.5, 5 years old when all these things happened. And there was one very funny incident as well. One day when we were organizing house budget, uh, we kept lot of flowers for the Ashtotram. My mother was busy making some prasadam, some sweet, arranging uh, all that. My father was arranging the altar, decorating and all. The flowers were kept just before the uh, padukas, just in front of the padukas. And we as kids, we were trying to clean the rooms, trying to arrange the slipper and all that. So that was our job. While we were doing it, suddenly there was one chair which we kept. We didn't have a cushion then for Swami. What happened was the entire floor that we had kept it was placed on the seat of the chair, as if it was a cushion made of flowers, entire flowers. So my father came back to the main place where we were to conduct the bhajan, the hall, a living room, and then he found that it was all placed on the chair, and he thought probably I, being the youngest one, I must have done this. So he simply put it back into the place where he originally kept it and went back. When he returned sometime later, the same thing happened. And I was not in that vicinity, nor my sister, nor my mom, nor my father. But it was happening. When it happened for the second time, they called me and kind of told that it has to be kept here. Uh, Probably I didn't understand. I said okay and went back. The third time it happened again. It kept happening. So then they called and they kind of, in a very strict way, told that these kind of uh, playful things cannot go on because we have bhajans shortly. I very politely declined. I told them that I was in the other room cleaning and all that, making arrangements. I did not come to the living room at all. They did not believe. But after I insisted, finally, uh, they thought maybe it is Swami who is showing his presence. So they wanted to see for themselves as well. So once again, one final attempt, they took all the flowers and kept it back in its original place. And we all went to our respective places. And this time, every one of us knew who is where. Lo and behold, when we came back just few minutes before the bhajan, the flowers were once again kept as a cushion on the seating place on the chair. And we left the flowers as it is because Bhagwan thought he wanted a cushion. We didn't have it, and he took it. He made a cushion out of flowers for himself, and he decided in his grace, he decided to adjust with whatever facilities we had to offer. It was such a very vivid play that Bhagwan uh, had performed then. That it's not just us, even many of our devotees remembered these things because we narrated immediately what had happened. Uh, so these were the initial stages that we had a lot of experience, and our physical darshan of Bhagwan was whenever he used to come to Kodaikanal. Uh, we did not know Bhagwan much as a resident in Patti or in Vrindavan. We always knew Bhagwan as a person who visited Kodaikanal. For us, Kodai was everything. Whenever Bhagwan came to Kodai during Samhul, we were always there. My father used to be in service. Of course, yearly service, they were participating in Puttapatti. Other than that, we, because of the travel, the time, the distance, and all that, we always took the first opportunity to visit Kodai. And Kodai darshan was, as every one of you might know and have experienced, it was brilliant because the distance. between even the last row to where Bhagavan walks, the pathway, it is very, very short. So everyone can have a brilliant darshan and a lot of padhanamskar opportunities also. And of course, the weather is sublime. Uh, so that is how we were. So we were, for us, Bhagwan was in our house in Kodai and in Samiti, of course. So we were regular visitors to Samiti, participating once in a year, going to Patti, and once in a year, whenever some Bhagwan visits to Kodai, we were there in Kodai. So that's about it. We didn't know much about his mission, his educational institution, or anything. But of course, being part of the Samiti, uh, both my sister and myself were going for Balvika's classes. Uh, it is very difficult to hold the attention of a young kid and to give due credit to my gurus. Then uh, they made the session very, very interesting and light, that even before I could probably be of the right age to enroll for group 1, I was already there in the class. uh, Probably I attended Balvikas for maybe 11 years, if I can say, because I started from my 4.5, 5 years. I think 6 is the age of enrollment, if I'm not wrong, in group 1. I probably, because my sister was 6 years elder to me and she started going for group 1 classes, I always accompanied her. And I was there right from age 5. So all the inputs that my gurus used to give, the moral lessons, the stories, it was all with me. The belief was so much based on the experiences that were happening, the leelas that were happening in our house also. The belief was so high then. In fact, there was one incident that happened wherein we used to have two chairs, two wired chairs those days. One was in pink color, the other one was slightly yellowish white in color. We used to have these in our house, and once my sister fell sick. She was down with severe stomach pain, probably food poisoning also, and she used to sing well. So she was invited for a bhajan that evening. I was cycling that in that three-wheeler cycles that kids used to go around at house. I was cycling and she was crying because she is having this stomach pain and she has got a bhajan to attend the evening, and she was not sure if she could make it. That's when this was actually told to me by my mother, parents, my sister, and that's how it lingers in my mind even till today. Probably vaguely I do remember this, doing it myself, but not the entire thing. But it was reiterated several times. It was narrated several times, and even if I go back to my S12 Samiti, they keep telling me, they keep reminding me of this incident because there is a specific term that they coined for me. In fact, I was nicknamed that, so to say. What happened was I was riding this three-wheeler cycle. Suddenly I stopped uh, and I told my mother to take that yellowish white chair and put it in one particular corner because Swami has come and he wants a seat. They were completely, they probably thought that this is a kid who is probably imagining on its own, like how we used to, imagine of being bus drivers or so with our toys and ride. Probably they thought I'm imagining certain things like a drama and I'm doing it on my own. So they played along and they put a chair, but not the yellow colored, whitish yellow colored chair, but a pink colored chair. But I insisted, it seems, uh, on that being replaced with a whitish yellow colored chair. Reason? Swami wanted it. That's what I told. So they didn't have a choice, and knowing the leelas that were happening, that were beginning to happen then, so my mother quietly replaced the pink chair with a whitish yellow chair, and Bhagwan was seated. And it is only after that that I continued with my rounds of riding that tricycle. Then sometime later, I once again came to my sister, it seems, and informed her that uh, that she will be cured once she goes to the bhajan this evening, and that she will be gifted with a lot of prasad. It seems I mentioned this, maybe more than that, because of the screen size and restricting the size to this, but it is more than that. That's what I mentioned to her, saying that you will get this much of prasadam today. That's what Swami has told. You will be cured with that. Don't worry. Go to bhajans. This is what I told. So my sister went to the bhajans, and in the bhajans they had prepared food prasadam, some the sprouts, sundal, and all that. Maybe some chakar pongal and some such prasadam they had done. And there, after distributing it to so many people, there was still quite some prasadam left. And since they knew that we had a family with kids who could be fond of sweets and sundals, literally, they sent my sister a parcel with this much of prasadam. That was the parcel size. She came back home, had the prasadam, and her stomach pain, severe stomach pain, it seemed, just vanished. So this was yet another, uh, leela that Swami did. Uh, these, I mentioned this prasadam as Appuchi in Tamil. The kids used to call maybe I think Appuchi. So even till the old devotees, when I go back to Samiti, they keep calling me, "Hey Appuchi, how are you?" That's how they refer to me. So I mean, I sometimes blush, sometimes I feel little disappointing that even after being grown up, they still call me that. But that's how it is. So Bhagwan chose to stage this for everyone to see. Uh, this is how we all started, and so our faith was uh, so so much because of a lot of leelas that were happening. Uh, Quickly fast forwarding. Now I have just completed class 12, and I have to look out for college. I repeat, we did not know Swami's educational institutions. Uh, we did not know the procedure. We never tried to know also. We knew Swami, that's all. We did not think to look beyond that. We only knew Swami, and that was enough for us. We didn't want, of course, because my father and mother went for Puttapatti service, they all knew about the wonders that is happening in super specialty hospital. Hello, I just want to check if I'm there and
Yeah, yeah.
thank you,
Yes.
thank you. Yes, because there was a signal change here. I was not sure if I am still on. Okay. So it was in class. Once I completed my board exams, suddenly out of the blue, my they probably read Sanatana Sarthi article. I think my father quickly got an application one day and offered it to me to fill it up. I asked him straight away, "What was that?" He said, "It is an application to our Swami's University in Whitefield campus for BCom honors program." Excuse me. I was completely taken aback because I never ever imagined to stay away from my parents. I was never in a hostel setup. Uh, though it is Swami's college, I did not feel that I was away from Swami because I'm still going to Samiti. We had a lot of miracles, so we have the faith devotion. We keep going to Kodai, so we are experiencing him. So why to experience him in a different place when we already experience him in very close to us? That was a thought. And secondly, all my friends were getting admission into a very good college in Madurai. So I wanted to continue my worldly life, my sojourn with them, uh, and probably do a CA, chartered accountancy course parallelly, and become that. But as the divine will would have it, uh, because I was also a Bal Vikas student, uh, I yielded to my father's request. I filled it up and sent an application, absolutely with zero hope of getting into it. Uh, of course, by then the board results had come and I had scored very well. I was sure of getting a seat in the top college there. As this was going, there was a call letter for entrance exam and interview. Uh, so we went to Puttaparthi, and I did do the exams well, and I cleared the exams, and I was in for a interview. The interview also went well. I thought the interview was kind of a 50-50. It was not so bad. That's what I told my father, and we went back. Just before the admissions or applications for this college in Madurai could open up, we had received the final confirmation of the result from Bhagwan's University, and my name was there. Uh, Now, this is the confusion. This is exactly the confusion that people will be confronted with. We typically have these crossroads in life where you didn't want to do something, and you are given that you are probably, slowly being nudged into that space. Uh, that's where I think we will have to, trust the Lord and put our foot forward. I'm very lucky that I did that. Uh, because we had a lot of confusion, a lot of debates. I was never for Swami's University because it is a hostel away from parents. I couldn't live away from my mother, especially. Uh, and my CA dreams could not be pursued because in Bhagwan's University, you cannot do a course parallelly if you join a BCom program. So that would get delayed as well. So a lot of these thoughts were there. Finally, what I told, and my mother was also equally not in favor of that, because she was also feeling that I would find it difficult, and she wanted me to stay there. But my father was very happy, and my Samiti members were very happy. They were all persuading and saying that this is a blessing in disguise. Please go. I even made a statement so much that they all could say it because it's not their son or daughters. If it is for them, will they take this same decision? Will they say the same thing? This is exactly what I felt that time, and I told to my parents. My father was convinced that I must go, but my mother was confused. So I thought I would leverage on her mindset that time, and I told my father that I would go if my mother says you asks me to leave. So finally, the ball was in my mother's court, and I don't know what happened. At last, after a lot of thinking, she said, "If you're going to Swami, I think it will be for your good. Please go." I was devastated. I had to leave. I went uh, with a lot of remorse. I thought I might not survive. We already had a case in our Samiti of a similar student who got into, of course, it was into the Anantapur college. They went, they couldn't, get accustomed to it, and they came back. So it was that kind of a situation with that kind of a doubt. I had gone and I got admitted in Vrindavan. And the biggest blessing for me was when I went to Vrindavan, Swami was there. And I never knew anything about the Trai sessions or anything of that sort, because I again repeat, we didn't know much about what was happening with Swami's students, Swami's institute, and all that. We knew Swami, and we thought Swami knew us. That's all. So when I went into Vrindavan, the first day experience itself was a little shocking. The first meal, in fact, I hated beetroot. And the first afternoon when I walked in for lunch, it was beetroot, and there was nothing else to eat. It was beetroot, dal, and rice. Uh, I had to have it, otherwise I'll go hungry. I finally ended up having it. I did not, I thought that's the only way to survive. So I partook it. I ate it and left, but I was not very happy to start with. But in a couple of days, we started, uh, getting the thrice sessions, which Bhagwan usually does whenever he comes to Vrindavan. Just 3 straight thrice sessions. That's about it. I didn't call my parents for the next 1 week. They were really, very scared. They were afraid that probably I was so depressed that I didn't call them. So somehow they reached out to me. My mother was crying on a phone call, and she was asking what happened. Why did you give us a ring? So I mentioned clearly that I was literally in bliss, going through the darshan, the bhajan, and the thrice session. Because in thrice sessions, it was like a group interview. Students had wonderful opportunity to, rather than students had opportunity to interact, Bhagwan came down to our level. He used to discuss with the warden. He used to pull warden's leg and saying that today's chutney was very watery. It's not nice. Prepare good food and all that. So we used to have a very nice time at our warden's cost. So uh, it was a very, very wonderful session. It was a different Bhagwan. In fact, listening to Bhagwan's voice itself was a beautiful experience for me, other than for the discourses that he used to give. And those days when I was young, whenever he used to give discourse, probably because of the Kodai's weather and also his sweet voice, maybe I always slept. And these are the thrice sessions where the real first session, interactive session with Bhagwan, that I was wide awake and I was listening to him. And this time it was not spirituality or a lot of philosophy, and he's talking like a friend to all of us. So those sessions were, of course, there were other things as well. He used to talk about a few other, uh, uh, the mythology or some philosophies, but it came a little later. It was initially only about ice breaking kind of a session with students. It was wonderful, and that's how I started. And after that, there is no looking back. I never thought of coming back home for pursuing my higher studies. Once again, fast forwarding, I would come back to certain things later. Uh, Now I try to become, yeah, just shifting a little back. While I was uh, in, a student in Balvika's group 1, 2, and 3, I did participate a lot in singing competitions and Veda or shloka chanting and all that. I was never into, of course, essay writing or public speaking and all that, but I was always into bhajan singing and shloka chanting, and I won prizes. Whatever our Balvika's guru stated is absolute truth for us. We believed in that, and she was a disciplinarian as well. So much so that if I was late for 5 minutes, I had to skip the class. I cannot enter. It did happen. I went weeping back once because of that. It taught me some life lessons, of course. But so to say, these days, sometimes if something is like that is done to a child, the parents will not cannot take it. But my mother and father was not that way. If the Balvikas Guru sent me back for being 5 minutes late, they used to, kind of appreciate that, because she's bringing me into the path of discipline. They never took a fight with her. Instead, they encouraged her to be more strict than that. Strange, uh, but that's how my life was. So she was a strict disciplinarian, and she used to insist on a lot of things. And so once she made a statement to us saying that for those who win state level first prize in any competition, Bhagwan will give the certificates directly. It would have his signature, and Bhagwan will give it personally. At least he used to. The frequency has come down, but you never know, Bhagwan. You have a very good chance of getting it. That's what she had told right at the beginning when I was in class 1. So I was always eager to, kind of uh, bag a prize. Not so focused on winning the prize. Of course, she would always insist on, not worry about the result, just put forth the effort and, offer it to the Lord, surrender. Whatever comes out, and that is this prasadam, partake it, is what he used to always highlight. So we were trying to, though we did not realize it, maybe in essence fully, we were always trying to think. I still believe every Balvikas guru does that to their wards, and every ward also goes through this kind of conditioning, if I can say. um, so I had one state level first prize in my group 1 singing, and my group 2, group 3 as well. I had one, those certificates. In group 1 first prize, in group 2 and 3 I had one second prize, at least twice or thrice. So I had, but the certificates did come to me, but it was not handed over by Bhagwan. It was not, I think it did not have his signature. It probably had the state president's signature. Not a bad thing to have, but you always want the best. And when your guru says something will happen, and you believed in that, it has to happen, isn't it? So this is at the back of my mind when I joined the college, that Swami, you did not give me anything. You did not give these certificates. You did not sign them for me. Probably it must have been there in my subconscious mind. I'm not sure, because I'm only doing a post-mortem analysis now, of course. I still really do not know uh, why or for what purpose, but something happened in my first year. Uh, so when I went to Brindavan, I tried to become a singer. I got to know that there is an opportunity to, take up a singing test. If I'm good enough, they will train me, and if Bhagwan permits, I would get an opportunity to sing in front of him. So I was very much encouraged by that opportunity. I took that test, but I was not selected. I was crestfallen, disappointed, and I thought I would. I was never a person who, a very 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 flamboyant kind of a person. I would try something once, or maybe that much, and then I would say, okay, that was not why I came here. I did not come to Brindavan to, you know, kind of become a singer or something like that. It's not to showcase that side of me. It is to do a course and go back and probably enjoy Swami's darshan as much as possible. That was my thought, and I did not think so much of becoming a singer. Probably now realizing that, I think that maybe I must have tried it even more. But anyway, that was my thinking then. And then so I was not into any drama. I was not a dramatist. I was not a playwright, or I was not a singer. I was not a very studious or a top ranker in my class. I was just a normal person getting accustomed to what was happening around me. I was trying to follow the rules and trying to fall in line. That's all I was trying to do. And I was focused on Swami's darshan, of course, because the tri session completely changed my perspective. I was so focused on getting as many darshans as possible. If if or more than that, maybe have a few words with him. If I get lucky, hand over a couple of letters to him. That's what I all wanted. Um, so this was my state. On October 2nd, 2006, something happened. It was I never imagined this would happen in my life. At least not just me. Nobody probably expected this would happen to me. What happened was, Bhagwan, we were in Parthi. We went to, it was the 2006 October 2nd happened to be Vijay Dasami. So during the festival time, we always, the Dashera time, we were in Puttaparthi, uh, uh, seeking Bhagwan's blessings and enjoying the festivities there. So when that evening Bhagwan came out, we all know how it happens. From the ladies' side, he comes into the gents' side between the third block and the fourth block. Where Bhagwan sits, right in front of that is the third block, and after that there is a pathway, and after that there is a slope downward sloping uh, uh, place which takes us to the Ram statue. So that's what we call as a fourth block, if I remember correctly. So between that there is a path, and that's the way Bhagwan passes through the students and then goes towards the devotees side, take a U-turn on the right side, and sometimes if the car goes straight behind the Ganesha, which was there earlier, or sometimes it used to come right in front of the third block where Narayan sir used to sit and chant Vedam, and all the singers used to be seated. It used to come through that and go uh, to the ladies' side and take a again left U-turn and come to the same place right in front of the interview room. This time, so the moment Swami's car passes through the Vedam block right in front of the third block, we students, especially birthday boys and all those apologies. I hope it is visible.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry for the interruption. Yeah. So once Swami's car leaves the place in front of the Vedam group and bhajan singers, our boys used to rush in out of nowhere from all directions. In fact, there used to be a that sound, and probably devotees could even get annoyed with that kind of behavior. But we all did that because everyone wanted to be in the first row in front of the Lord, have as much close darshan as possible, try to offer, if possible, if he accepts, maybe hand over letters or get the birthday tray blessed and all that. Those are wonderful opportunities that we students were blessed with. Uh, so we took that liberty and we all were seated. We were completely jammed and cramped for space that time. I was probably, on the eighth row on the left flank from the Vedam group. After Swami's car left, we all rushed in, and I was probably on the seventh row or so. Why I'm saying all this, why I'm narrating this is, again reiterating, I was not a topper or gold medalist. I was not a singer. I was not a a dramatist or whatever who generally get a lot of opportunities to talk to Bhagwan. uh, I was a very normal student, and I came into the university uh, like any other, going through a normal regular process. And here I am in row number 6 or 7, or probably more than that. Suddenly, that evening, when there was talk, I think it was by late Hanumantappa or somebody, I think former Bangalore Vice Chancellor, or if I remember correct, uh, he was giving a talk, being Vijayadashami. It was October 2nd, I still remember. Uh, Vijayadashami, we know what an auspicious day it is. And we were all seated. Suddenly, Bhagwan turned towards the birthday boys and said, "Come." So everyone, there were some 10, 12, but how it used to happen. It is not just the boys who had birthdays on that particular day. Boys who had birthdays 2 days before also used to be there. So people who could not get their trays blessed, they also get opportunities maybe for 3 consecutive days or so. So so many people were there, at least 10, 12 people. The moment all of them started going and all that, it, probably the form boys, I mean, we used to call them form boys because they are always close to Lord. The people who used to push Bhagwan's chair on either side, they were very alert because they knew there is a long trail coming up, and anytime Bhagwan could say stop, so they have to immediately communicate, and they became alert. So Bhagwan was happy to bless all the birthday boys, and he started taking letters from boys who had. So I also had a letter. um, Typically the contents were simple. My sister was married by then, and she was in Bangalore. She was pregnant with her first baby. That was the scenario. So I wanted to seek Bhagwan's blessings for that primarily. And there was another thing that was running in my mind, of course, because a couple of days before, Bhagwan had mentioned in the speech that those boys and girls who have prepared well until for the exams, after, which is coming up shortly after the Dashera festivals, they will score very well. That's the statement he made. But I hadn't prepared. Typical of a student, like an average student, I hadn't prepared well that time. So I had this thought, my personal, goals of clearing the exams and scoring a decent marks. So these were the primary thoughts that were running in my mind. So I too had a letter. I mentioned those things in the letter as well. I was holding it. So after 3 or 4 letters, Swami, he saw that there were a lot of people with letters as well coming in. So suddenly, he kind of exclaimed, and he maybe gave a very soft signal to stop. Everybody stopped, and I was not so much aware of these kind of soft signals. So they say where angels fear to tread, fools rush in. I rushed in. I and the moment, because everybody had stopped from row 7, as birthday boys got blessed and as letters were being collected from second, third rows, I quickly showed the letter that I had to my brothers and quickly managed to get into row 2 and row 1. When I was in row 2, probably they stopped it, but in a hurry, I jumped out of the queue and I went exactly in a place. Right in front of Swami, there were two people. Probably Swami is taking a letter from one, and there was one behind him, and rest were stopped. I jumped out of that line. I was not in the Vedam line. I was not on the left flank of where people were stopped. uh, I was not in the queue in front of Bhagwan where Bhagwan was agreeable to collect the letters for that particular evening. There were a couple of people in front of Bhagwan in the queue. I was not in any of those. You can imagine the situation. I was there right at the center, and there was this sound. Shh, shh. Everybody was shooing me to go back. I was completely tensed. My whole body became chill. I was eyes. It was full of confusion because I was desperate. I had never had a word with Bhagwan until then physically, and that I was overcome by that intense feeling, probably that I did not see the soft signal. I just jumped the queue and I was there in a position where I couldn't go back nor forward. I cannot go forward because Bhagwan has not permitted. I couldn't go. I mean, going back doesn't make sense because anyway, I have risked uh, skipping the queue. So anyway, I'm there in limelight for wrong reason. Even if I go back, they're going to kind of pull me up for doing that. So what happened was finally after those two people in front of Bhagwan, offered their letters and spoke to Bhagwan, took their paz namaskar. Now look at this scenario. There is no one. I was sitting there in front of Bhagwan, and Bhagwan is looking at me, and I'm looking at Bhagwan. Everyone is, kind of like, is Bhagwan going to blast you? If you know what that means, Bhagwan blasts someone, especially a first year student in first semester, that is certainly not good. That didn't look good at all, very honestly. But my feeling was still intense. I wanted to pray to Bhagwan. I wanted to have a conversation with Bhagwan. So I tried slowly making a small move. I thought if Bhagwan doesn't say anything, I will go and talk to him. If he says, go back, I'll simply put my head down and walk back. That's what I thought, because it is not the people who said, uh, who shooed me away. It was not, it is between the devotee and the Lord. The Lord is looking at me, I'm looking at the Lord. I wanted to have his consent. I tried moving forward. If he says no, I go back. If he says yes, I go forward. That's what I thought. Very brave thought. Now, I wouldn't, if you ask me to do that, I don't think I would have done it now, today. But I did that time. So I slightly made a movement. Bhagwan did not say anything. Quickly, I went to him and gave this letter. For the first time, imagine I'm seeing Bhagwan's beautiful face right in front of me. In fact, it hid the whole world to me. If what would happen if you keep a coin in front of your eyes, it has the capability to hide the entire world's view for you. The panoramic view would come to just that coin because you have kept it so close. So I was so close to Bhagwan. I was watching his eyes, his hair, his nose, his lips. Because he was not so audible then. So I was trying to read the lips, and I didn't know Telugu, so I was not sure what language he's going to pick up and speak. If he chooses to show his divinity, he could speak Tamil, or otherwise, if he wanted to test me, maybe he will choose Telugu, is what I thought. I was trying to read his lips. I was just, kind of just gazing. That's all. And I handed over the letter. Bhagwan picked up the letter, and then I quickly told Swami, my sister is pregnant. Please bless her with a healthy baby and healthy life. He nodded his head. It is as though Bhagwan is waiting for me to ask as many things I wanted and extinguish that intense feeling. So he continued to listen to me. So I said, Bhagwan, my exams are coming up. Just bless me that I must score well. He said, yes. Then finally I said, I always wanted your blessings. Be with me and bless me all the time. That is what I said. Suddenly I realized that there is something that is moving on the, I'm watching Bhagwan on the left side. You understand, right? I'm seeing only Bhagwan, and for me, it is so close and the whole world is not present. Suddenly I'm seeing some kind of a movement on the left side of me. When I turned, before I realized, Bhagwan had materialized a ring, and he was holding it in his hand. It was we used to call it 60 in our student parlor. So he materialized a diamond ring, and he had it in hand. I absolutely did not know how to react. That's how we were. I was not so trained to react to that kind of situation. I simply, like how we used to get Vibhuti Prasadam, I just kept stretched my hand like this. Then Bhagwan did not give the ring to me. He continued to hold, and then the boys next to Bhagwan directed me to turn the hand and show the fingers pointed towards Bhagwan. And when I did that, he very neat and safely put that ring into my hand. That's all. I didn't know what happened. I didn't know what to react. I didn't know why this happened. Nothing. I was blank. I blanked out after, uttering whatever I had to attend to Bhagwan. And when he did that, I was dumbfounded. I just asked for Pada Namaskar, took Pada Namaskar, came back to my place on the left flank next to the Vedam block. I was sitting, and Bhagwan was continuously watching me, and I couldn't take that look of Bhagwan. It was so much that I started praying internally that Bhagwan, it's enough. I am not able to take it anymore. Please stop looking at me. That is what I prayed to Bhagwan at that moment. And then he turned that side, and our Harti happened, and it all was over. Everybody after the darshan, all the students, they were like, hey, what did you tell Swami? What happened? And when I told them that I told these three things, it looks very simple. Yes, the sister is pregnant, so I prayed for the health. I prayed for my result. I sought Bhagwan's blessings, which everyone does. So nothing seemed apparently extraordinary, but they all were pretty sure that there is something that Bhagwan wanted to, he chose, and so it happened. So I also took my mother back home. Everyone felt very happy. My Samiti members were also very happy, thinking that as if Bhagwan had blessed the entire Samiti through me. So it was such a wonderful moment to cherish then. And again, I repeat, I was a normal student, and but here Bhagwan Satya Sai Baba listened to me, gave me a chance, and I didn't know why he gave me that ring till today. But probably looking back, I think it could probably be because of the question I had and the belief I had in my Bal Vikas Guru's words that Bhagwan will one day give you the certificate. Bhagwan will sign the certificate. And yes, he did give me a ring. And for what? Probably, I'm just imagining. that it could be this, it could be for something else as well. But what I'm saying is, if the guru says something and if you believe in it, it could be our Balvika's guru, or our guru could be Bhagwan. If we just believe in the guru, I think we will certainly see what the guru has to offer. So our faith will certainly, it will not uh, leave us in lurch. It will always come to our aid, and it will pleasantly surprise us. Absolutely. So this was a great lesson for me when this incident happened. Uh, then there was, I'm not sure how much of minutes I have. I can probably go on for maybe another 20 minutes or so.
Uh, maybe 10 minutes. Okay.
10 minutes. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in my second year, what happened was there was this World Youth Conference that was happening, and we went to Parthi, attended that, and when we were returning back in our bus, I had this strange question in my mind, and that was the first conference I saw Bhagwan. Probably after those years of summer showers and all those, the conferences on Indian spirituality and all that. This was one of the unique conferences where I saw Bhagwan answering, taking few questions and answering those. People from all over the world, youth from all over the world had come. It was, I think, grand 3-day uh, conference. So when I went back, as we were traveling back to Brindavan, I had this strange question in my mind. Uh, why World Youth Conference? Why the word youth? Why youth? I had this question. I kept asking this question. I didn't find the answer. I dozed off in my travel. Suddenly, half an hour into my sleep, I got a dream. Bhagavan asked me this question: what is the most precious thing in this world? And when Bhagavan asks a question, most of the times, or rather, we will not know what he is intending to tell. So I kept silent. I didn't know. I didn't have a clue, definitely. So when I kept silent, Bhagavan revealed the the pure mind of a young student is the most precious thing in this world. The dream ended there, and the next 3 hours of my journey, I had goosebumps, and I was feeling as though I was uplifted. I was floating in air. It was such a very revealing, truth revealing spiritual experience for me. I really felt that I was floating in the air. It was that kind of a revelation. Looking back once again in the second year, we used to have birthday celebrations as well, where we used to interact with our senior brothers. We had the chance of staying with our seniors as well as our own classmates. So when I interacted with one of the seniors, uh, of course I didn't understand why Swami says pure mind of a young student is the most precious thing. I didn't understand that. So later that year, when I had an opportunity to casually interact with the senior, I found out uh, this was maybe after I passed out, maybe one of my senior who passed out. Uh, in his, I would not want to reveal from which region or where he came from, his name and all that. But before joining Bhagwan's Institute, he was not in good company. Probably if he had not come here, he probably would have become an antisocial element probably in the society. He had that kind of a bad experience. Uh, Things that we generally shouldn't be using, some arms which can be very which can cause damage, say like a knife and all that. This was a common thing in his life. So that kind of life he led, and after coming to Bhagwan's Institute, apologies once again, after coming to Bhagwan's Institute, he was transformed. He went back and joined Indian Army, if I'm right. Look at that. Bhagwan has transformed an individual who could have potentially become a antisocial element to somebody who is contributing to the nation's border security. So the power, it's the youth, the youthful energy, exuberance, the skill. It's so moldable that it can take any shape. A knife in the hands of a doctor versus a knife in the hands of a thief. We know what could benefit and what could harm. So in the same way, uh, or rather, how gold could be molded into any form and shape, how water could take any shape that we put it into. The youth energy and enthusiasm is such, if that can be safeguarded and molded and trained, it can benefit the society. I think that is why Bhagwan started his education mission, isn't it? So he wanted to, you know, he planted seeds for a very bright, ethical society in future. Dharma Stapna, if it has to happen, it has to happen through youth who are the future householders, who make this future society. So if ethics will have to, if dharma will have to be followed, it has to be implanted in the young mind. That's why probably Bhagwan told me that dream. There were many dreams that had happened, but this particular dream was so revealing because I felt I was floating in the air. It was such a revelation. So this is what I understood much later after I heard some similar stories about how Bhagwan had transformed lives of many people. Uh, Finally, one couple of quick experiences. Of course, I was part of the Sahasra Chandra Purna Yajnam that Bhagwan conducted. I got an opportunity to learn and chant Rudram in his divine presence on his day. It was a wonderful experience. Even then, the selection process of that, I did not enroll for that. After having joined Brindavan, I had participated in the Sloka competition and won the first prize in that particular category, the beginners category. I chanted it because of my Balvika's background. I chanted it. I trained hard and chanted it so well, probably that the professors there kept that in the mind. And though I did not, they had asked for names of people who knew Rudra because there is something coming up. uh, I knew, in fact, what they said was you should know Rudram in such a way that if Swami suddenly calls you, picks you from that group and asks you to chant in front of the whole world, you should be able to do it. That is the amount of confidence and confidence that they wanted people with. So they wanted well trained people. So I knew Rudram almost, but the final stanzas I couldn't learn it that well by then. So very honestly, I did not give my name because they made it very clear what they are expecting. I did not give my name. Also knew that there were some of my classmates or maybe my juniors who also had similar issues, but they wanted to be part of this grand event. So there's nothing wrong about it. So they gave their names for it, but I chose otherwise because I was always happy with just the darshan of Swami wherever it is. Uh, because of winning the sloka competition, what happened was once we were, but nevertheless, Swami sent the Rudram books to all girls and boys across campuses and asked everyone to chant. But there will be a select, maybe 50, 60 people who would be in front of the chariot uh, procession and will be sitting on the dais with Bhagwan. So that was a very rarest of the rare opportunity. So everyone was getting trained because Swami wanted all his students to chant. So even in the training, my professor, uh, who was staying with us in the hostel, he observed that I was chanting it very well. But surprisingly, I had not given my name. So without any audition, testing, or whatever, I don't know what he felt. He directly included my name in that list. And, you know, honesty, truth, and all that, it always, gets you Bhagwan's grace. I was there in that 60. Uh, you know what? Even to be quite honest, I almost, mastered Rudram, but I still had one or two. I was not very proficient, so to say, in few of the lines here and there in the last stanza. But Bhagwan, in his all his grace, he granted me that rarest opportunity to be chanting on the dais with many other people. So I was thankful to Bhagwan for that. And yes, after my BCom, uh, there was this question of joining MBA. Of course, I applied for MBA. And in one of the classes in my third year, my professor mentioned that our Bhagwan's Institute also offers MA in economics. So it would not be bad if you do an MA in economics and then do an MBA in finance. Suddenly, it hit me. I don't know why it hit me, and not to many others. It hit me. And I chose to apply. My mother was not in favor of this to apply for MA in economics, but I wanted to continue my stay in Bhagwan's Institute and have his darshan. So I somehow, even if my mother did not permit, I went ahead and applied. Uh, Today she feels happy about it, because that was the time between 2009 to 11, and after that we know what happened. So the last 2 years of Bhagwan's physical presence, uh, those were the years that I was there in the institute doing MA in economics. I did that. And just before, I know initially my preference was MBA. I gave an MBA entrance test, but I did not go through. I informed my mother. My mother said, simply come back and prepare for CAT or ZAT, and maybe take up some other college outside. But I was insistent on being with Bhagwan. Uh, so I told her that though you had said no, I had continued. I even applied for MA economics. It is only 2 days away. I have an entrance exam for MA in economics after my rejection in MBA. So I told her I will just give it a try and come back. Anyway, I have to start from Patti. Let me start 2 days later. What happened was, in those 2 days, as I was doing pradakshina one night, before that, in the evening darshan, I knew I was rejected. I gave a letter to Bhagwan saying I was praying and I was there. This was during holidays. That time, Bhagwan took my letter. I told him that I am applying for an MA economics course. Please bless me. He blessed me with that, and then I was very confident, though I did not prepare it. I don't know anything about MA in economics, and except for the basics that we learned in our 11th and 12th, I was not so confident because I had not done a BA in economics. So, but I was very confident of getting a seat because Bhagwan had accepted my letter, and he nodded his head saying that yes, I will grant you this when I prayed. So that night I was doing pradakshina, and we Brindavan students were lucky to sleep on Sai Kulwant Hall, because the east time did not have facilities, or it could not host a lot of students. So we were permitted to sleep in Kulwant Hall until 3 p.m. So uh, because then a classmate of mine was also had also applied for the MA economic course, and he was preparing, and there was this very strange question with a very strange diagram and all that. So I looked into it. I said, this seems very interesting, why don't you teach me? I have not prepared anything at all until then. I just wanted to know, what is this? He said, since you have not prepared anything, it would be very mind, it would bother you so much if I tell you a lot of stuff on this question. There are also so many other things. It is better, you have anyway left it to Swami. You leave it at that and just go and attend the exam, is what he told. But I insisted that only this question, probably if he can tell me, that would be it. I would not trouble him further. So he was for a half an hour he told me what is that concept. And next day it was a very general question paper. A lot of it had to it was on the tested on basics which we used to learn on the 11th and 12th. And it was a lot of questions on how compare and contrast between this concept in economics and what Swami has to say. And there was one technical question, and that was the question which I asked from my classmate. So these were Bhagwan's Leelas. The only question that I had learned from the classmate, that was the only technical question that was asked. And even there, they did not ask me to, list out all the points on that. They only asked me to compare and contrast between that particular question and Swami's healing on desire. So we were well trained in Swami's sealing on desires, and I knew the concept of that particular question from my friend the previous night. So I was able to do the exams well, and even the interview questions. Professor Vishwanath Pandit was there on the panel. He was an eminent economist, a consultant to Sri Lankan government. Sometime back, he was a former vice chancellor as well. He was there, and a lot of questions were on mathematics and statistics. I couldn't I answered a couple of them, and I couldn't answer a couple of them. I was worried. I quickly prayed to Swami at that time. Suddenly the questions changed from maths and statistics to basic concepts in economics, and I was very thorough with those concepts. I was able to answer well. I came out, I went rushed to the darshan, and Swami was there. He was taking aarti. I saw Swami's darshan. I was 100% sure that I'm going to get a seat. Then I asked someone, because those days Swami sometimes used to come for morning sessions, or he used to come a little late, or it all depends. So when I asked them when Swami had actually come out, it almost correlated with the time that I was facing the interview questions, and when I prayed for Swami's intervention to change the questions from mathematics. So Swami, is for everyone. He can relate to each one of us one to one. I wish probably another time I could narrate few other incidents, but considering everyone's time, I stop here. Swami relates you. I mean, if you have faith in Swami, and if you sincerely pray, if we all do that regularly, I think Swami will connect to us. He is connecting to us, just that we are not seeing it. When we open our eyes and see, I think we will see his unseen hand. We will see his footsteps. He will clear the path well ahead of us, and he will ensure that we have a very safe journey in our life. That has been my experience, and there are few other incidents in my life which gave me this learning, which I thought I would leave you all with. Finally, one incident I would like to quote from Mahabharata. This is always my favorite incident. Just before the war, when Arjuna and Duryodhana goes to Lord Krishna to seek help for the war, both of them are there. The Lord acts as though he's taking a siesta, and as per their characterizations, Arjuna sits. We all know that Arjuna sits next to the feet of the Lord as a devotee, while Duryodhana, like a king, egoistic, sits next to the head of the Lord. The Lord opens his eyes, and though Duryodhana comes first, he sees Arjuna and offers them to make the first choice. Duryodhana is upset that though he came first, it's not the first come first basis, but it is who was first seen by the Lord. So then the Lord explains that Arjuna is anyway younger to him. So, and since I saw him first, I offered him. So let him choose. I will offer either. I'll be on one side. I will not wield any arm. I'll just be a charioteer. And on the other side, there is this 2 Akshonis, which is like 4.4 lakh of people, the infantry, cavalry, and all that available for the other person. So Duryodhana is very apprehensive to start with. What if Arjuna chooses? What is the use of Krishna without his weapon, without his Changa Chakram and all that? Is what he thinks, and he wanted those army men. Look here, Arjuna chooses Krishna, and we know what happened and all that. My only thought here is why God posed that option to Arjuna is that, of course, he himself wanted to be on the side of Dharma. That's the reason why he is there. But yet, he wanted the devotee to make the choice of choosing him. He did not uh, push the devotee to choose him. He gave true choice. In fact, a logical mind would say, I'm having only 7 Akshaunis of men, whereas the other side is already having 9 Akshaunis. And if Krishna is offering 2 Akshaunis, it would equal the Kaurava army. But and Krishna is also not there with his weapon. So what is the use? That logical mind would say, that we should choose the two Akshonis. But it is only because of faith and the devotion of Arjuna that he made the right decision when God chooses to test the devotee. When God chooses to test the devotee and puts him in a crossroad, Arjuna was very clear and he listened to his heart with the devotion. He said, I want only you and nobody else, and rest is history. I pray and wish that all of us, when we are put to such crossroads and testing times, we choose Bhagwan over every other thing so that we will also win and merge with the Lord. Finally, one corollary point that I realized is even after choosing the Lord, Arjuna did a lot of mistakes. Arjuna did, at the end of the war, when Krishna asked Arjuna to get down, we all know Arjuna said, I'm the king, you're the charioteer, you need to get down first. Then Krishna had to tell him very sternly that I'm telling you, you please get down. And when he gets down, uh, not so convinced, and then later Krishna gets down after Arjuna gets down, it all blows up in fire. And Krishna explains why it all happened. So we knew that even after choosing and surrendering to the Lord, as a human, we will falter several other times. But God, like how Swami says, we can test him once, not every time. uh, After that we have to believe in the same way we need God also tests his devotees, and once we chooses him, he will not forsake us. He will always be by our side. Thank you, Sairam.
Sairam. Sairam, thank you very much, Sriram. So I would request our convener, Varadarajan, to address word of thanks and conclude with Shanti Mantra. Sairam, Varadarajan.
Sairam. Sairam, Sriram, thank you very much for sharing all your experiences with us and the leelas that you have undergone while you were in, you are a youngster in Madurai. And the take home point for me and for all of us, I think, is the way you considered Swami as the fifth member of your house, whether by believing it or not believing it. Automatically you have taken him as the fifth member of the house, and I think that is the foundation for all your experiences of Swami's Leelas. So with this I conclude. I thank you very much for your excellent speech. Sairam.
Sairam.
We'll say Samastaloka and Om Shanti.
Yeah.
Om Samastaloka Sukhino
Bhavantu.
समस्तलोका सुखिनो भवन्तु समस्तलोका सुखिनो भवन्तु ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः
Sairam.